Hello. Sorry I'm late. I had some things I had to do this morning, and I wasn't able to start work as early as I wanted to. So I'm here now, and I wanted to have a meeting with you to let you know that I had actually, I kind of was working. I just wasn't at the office like I said I would be. I was having a meeting with Ken Cook, the environmentalist educator who has been doing some work in undercover ops with Monavand. And I went to your YouTube channel and I left a long document to expose Monavand for her illegitimate lack of intelligence. But it actually brought me to a new place of letting the audience, I'm going to let you know how these people operate on platform so that you can start getting aware of how sick they are. So first thing they look at is how many followers. Do they have a best-selling book? Do they have connections, networking? It's not about the person. It's not about the merit. It's not about anything more than how manipulative they are. Hence the girl from the New York Post. How much they're willing to sell out somebody else to sell on an idea that's just not real or true, without having no scientific background or education. However, the opening line that Ken Cook demonstrated was to give all these kudos to Monavand. So there's a couple of things that go into play with that. The first thing is she thinks that she's winning in the game because she's getting respect from a respectable person, and he's giving her kudos. So she's getting props from being validated. Secondly, she's always going to bring up the diamond and the Gary Vaynerchuk in the conversation, another validation for herself to continue to produce content. She's going to name drop. She's going to play into the ideas of her brand and image of a facade to step into her acting role while she talks like a baby, delivering to the audience on absolutely nothing, because it's not about actually bringing audience education or even doing anything for the pesticides or transforming the way that we grow crops into a more logical, affordable, and continuously producing the same amount. She didn't care about that. It's about her sitting on a platform yapping her jaw about the same thing she did on the last podcast, but has no work ethic or experience. But because she is glorifying herself, and Ken Cook opened the door for glorification, people seem to think she's a crook. Ken Cook. She doesn't use any form of intelligence or intellect or thought-provoking opinion. It's I think, but it's literally like watching a high schooler demonstrate a 11th grade project they did no research on, but they use their form of innocence or their looks or their youth or their parents' money to get somebody like the teacher to give them an A on the project so that they can get what they want and they can go on the date with the dude sitting in the back of the class. So it's very clear to me that the Ponzi scheme, and it's been very hard to get you to recognize that what you're doing is completely unethical and immoral. It's not free speech or First Amendment rights to violate our civil rights by lying to people. Your opinion as Monavand doesn't mean shit in this country when you have no science-based background. See, she's never opened a book in her life, yet pretends I could literally hold a book open and say, well, I just wrote a 20-page document on pesticides. However, I didn't write a 20-page document on pesticides. Even now, you're still curious if I actually wrote about pesticides. So when the conversation is two people talking at each other, and then you call that a collaboration, it's just a sales pitch of manipulation and psychosis. It's just a manipulation of psychosis. The fact that we're having this conversation is because Gary Vee set her up last night. I don't trust anyone at VaynerMedia or VaynerNation at all, because we have Monavand infiltrating the systems. And especially Sid and Dustin, just to let you fools know, or Rips. The fact that you would turn your back on an American to support a Persian says everything about who you are as a person. We're in real life here, dude. See, I know you're like a little child running around trying to sell baseball cards or V-Friends cards to fill up your ego cup. See, you're not powerful enough to have a conversation either, are you? You pout in the corner like a little boy. Reminding you that Monovan is in every little ounce of thing that Gary Vee does because he constantly says her name, constantly shows up to parties with her, and then you stand there and you're friendly to her ass. While you all pretend at work when you're not actually happy at work, you're all extremely miserable. That's the sickness of this influencer thing is you think you're successful, Dustin, because Gary Vee made you a celebrity in the eyes of people on influencer platform. However, what I'm working toward is exposing you for all of who you are, an anti-American who supports ego-driven, self-centered of an overthrow of a country that got you to where you are. See, most of these people produce content trying to look good doing it, but they're not looking good doing it. They're just working off of pretty privilege and networking. And Gary Vee stood there and allowed that shit to happen, didn't you? You started, the day you started that business, you started schmoozing people over, calling it kindness, and taught absolutely horrible things to horrible ass people, where now there's millions of snake oil salesmen, and now you're showing off a diamond ring. And still staying quiet, aren't you? That's the world of the context of which we live, so that you can look cool. Look how cool she looks sitting across from Ken Cook, uncomfortably standing in front of the White House, offering absolutely nothing to nobody. The disconnect in the reality of your mental instability and the lack of intellect that it takes for someone to sit across from a pretend fake ass psychopath. To fall for that shit when you're a damn scientist, or at least a form of scientist. Maybe you're just a businessman, Ken Cook. Because a businessman doesn't belong telling us how we're going to grow our food. You standing on your little pedestal hosting a podcast when you do absolutely nothing but lobby. All you do is lobby your opinion to people who are clueless about how farmers actually have to grow food. What's the disconnect for you, Ken Cook? Have you gone to farms and had conversations with farmers to give or do a sales pitch to educate them? No, instead what you did, you went straight to the government and hired a lobbyist and then tried to make Monovan a petition signer to get something that's never going to fucking happen for you. While she flips her hair and says, well, I'm with Ken Cook, and here's Ken Cook, and I just think that pesticides, how stupid is that conversation? That is the dumbest thing that I've ever heard in my effing life. Yet, here we are still looking at that nasty ass, crappy ass dress. I mean, seriously, what part of these things in your brains as audience are you not recognizing how sick this shit is? The fact that you're not interested in any form of education, the fact that you still open your fucking mouth talking about how you made D's and F's in high school. If you made D's and F's in high school, you didn't graduate high school. If you made that in college, you don't have a degree. So I don't know what in your fucking little peon, little shit-ass brain of yours, while you tell people to have education and passion, and all they do is wear clothes, do hair and makeup, and talk out their assholes where they deliver on no substance, where nobody learns anything, all because your dumbasses tried to tell other people how to live their lives. And they're so naive and they're so gullible that they fell for your fucking shit. However, people are awake to all your shit now, bitch. And that's for each and every one of you nasty whores who look like a fucking mannequin. Let me be a robot and tell you about your feelings. I'm a life coach. I'm sorry, but if you thought that was interesting, you're fucking crazy. And you need to actually go to a place that Paris Hilton wrote a bill on. That's how insane